time for another episode of the...
It's the very first ever Oil Street pre- and post-game show on Edmonton Sports Talk as we get you set for Edmonton's 5th preseason game as they take on the Canucks right here on the Oil Stream pre- and post-game show. Hi, everybody. Tom Gazzola with you. Matty Cassian will be joining you later on in the program. Running the show today on YouTube and on the EST audio stream is one Matthew Iwanek alongside YouTube Trev, who will get on the show. YouTube Trev, very excited to join us on the Oil Stream pre- and post-game show this season. Iwanek is more subdued. Matthew, good day. Say hello to everybody.
Good day, sir. Good day. How are you tonight?
I'm doing great. So here we go. The pre- and post-game show. We launched EST coming up on a month now, and here we are with our first pre- and post-game show. Will it be perfect today? No. Will it be good? I think so. And, of course, we're going to have to iron out some kinks and make sure that we get things settled in. We'll add in some wrinkles as well. We're keeping it pretty straightforward today. But, Matty, the juices were already flowing. You've got some ideas going forward. So does YouTube Trev, which I'm very excited about.
Well, those ideas we've got for, like, the future of the station type thing.
Well,
you've got ideas for this show that you were already, like, throwing out there earlier today. Like,
what?
If we get there,
yes,
I'll be very happy that we've accomplished it. You've got some great ideas for the show.
Of course.
It's just one of those things for me right now and with
yes.
Trev here. It's, how do we do this?
We're a 5-man band.
How are we going to do this? I don't know how this equipment works.
Yes, no, we're figuring it out on the fly, but so far so good, and you guys are technical gurus and you're troubleshooters, and Trev has some great ideas, so we'll be incorporating those, and of course, as we continue to evolve and grow, it'll get better and better and better, but today we'll keep it pretty straightforward. We will hear from Cass later on with Game Changers this year, brought to you by Damon Bunting Remax Elite. So great to have Damon on board and his company. And, of course, if you want to sponsor the pre- and post-game show, you can reach out to us via email at business@edmontonsportstalk.com. We've got some stuff that we could sell. Belsy, myself, and Dusty, we're working on that right now. But you can also join the conversation. Hit us up at the inbox, 780-218-9999. And if you're watching, there's a new element. If you're watching the pre- and post-game show, you can join the conversation via the nasty chat on the YouTube stream. I am watching it as we go along. I'll try to keep tabs on both. I already have a bunch of text and a bunch of chat going on the nasty chat that we will get into. And Original Poozar, of course, the first one to join us via the nasty chat, as well as text in at our inbox, 780-218-9999. OP says, OP got a text in to respond to the two guys crew. Not sure Nurse would be on the ice protecting a lead. Coaches deployed him as a number one. Even after Ekholm arrived, Nurse can defend and defend hard. He and Ekholm will be a load in front of the net. That's from Original Poozar. So, OP, we will get Cass on here. He's going to join via video call, and we can get his thoughts on that. So lots to get to today. We will hear from Jay Woodcroft. We'll go through some lineup stuff as well because we don't really know what the Oilers will roll out lineup-wise. I assume, and I think it's safe to do so, that they will have a pretty veteran-laden group after what we saw yesterday at the Saddle Dome in Calgary. Not a ton of veterans or NHL veterans that are quote-unquote high-end from an Oilers standpoint, but they had some good ones that got the job done in a game where Calgary controlled a lot of the play. So it's going to be a different group that plays tonight in Vancouver. The Oilers did return to Edmonton. They skated at the downtown community arena because a bunch of stuff was going on with the Iron Maiden show taking over Rogers Place, and then they hit the road for Vancouver. And this is it is a road trip for the team because they will be taking on Seattle, so they'll do a little bit of team building. It was noted by Woodcroft that Matthias Ekholm, Ryan McLeod, and Sam Gagner are on the trip, and that's an interesting thing to point out. And then it was asked, you'll hear it later and see it later as we get into the later parts of the show, that McLeod and Ekholm are progressing. They're not rushing them. They're playing it off as cool right now. I said earlier in the week that if those two aren't on the ice by Monday, Tuesday-ish, that's when I would get concerned. Now, they have been skating on their own. Injured players tend to skate when the media isn't around, so we haven't seen them with the main group, but it's good at least that they have been skating and healing up. Of course, hip flexor for Matthias Ekholm, as well as a soft tissue injury for Ryan McLeod. So we will get to starting goalies, and we will get to the Canucks lineup. We'll give you the Oilers lineup once they hit the ice at Rogers Arena in Vancouver. And, of course, I'll dip into the inbox here. This one says, I'm more stoked about the pre-post game show than the actual game. Jeff, thank you for that note, and we appreciate it. We are too. So it's great to be back. We always knew we would be doing a pre- and post-game show when we launched this new endeavor at Edmonton Sports Talk, and it will continue to get better and better and better as we roll on. So we're super pumped too, Jeff. Thanks for the note via the Nasty Chat. Cookie coming in says, I weigh my vegetables too. Oh, wait, no, I weigh them down with melted cheese. So obviously you and Original Poozar are having an interesting conversation. I'll let that be. And OP chimes in with, I think McLeod plays on Monday, but Echo maybe the last exhibition game. Reading between the lines from Woody. OP always doing the deep dive, as we know if you did listen in back in the 1260 days. OP keeping tabs on everything when it comes to the Oilers. Hey, another text comes in. No name on it. Well, it's Dave from Ottawa, actually. Dave from Ottawa says, hey, Tommy, why is Foegele still on this team? Making 2.75. Dave from Ottawa, I would say to you that Foegele is still on this team because they do value him. The price point isn't ideal. They know that. But he did have a strong finish to last year when Jesse Puljujarvi was shipped out and he got back into the lineup. And, you know, he doesn't provide a ton of offense. That's kind of been his MO, 10 goals, 10 assists type thing, 20 to 30 points. But he needs to be a hard-nosed player. He needs to use his speed. He needs to bang and crash, create chaos, and he does that. And Dave from Ottawa, you know what I would say to that in general, to that statement? Why is this situation still presenting itself to the Oilers with Foegele at 2.75? This is the last year of his deal, and I know it was a different regime, but I think back to the Benoit Pouliot contract, and that was a more expensive contract over a longer length of time. But I think you can't have too many NHL players on your roster. And, you know, Pouliot, despite his struggles and the way he took penalties in the offensive zone, obviously he was chastised by not only the fan base, but media as well for his price point and what he actually brought to the table. But he was an NHL player. He was a bona fide NHL player, a bottom six guy. And I think, you know, they were, again, different regime, but Foegele's still in the lineup because he brings value, at least in their opinion, to the team. But yeah, if you do what Peter Chiarelli did in 2017 and get rid of a bunch of veterans and lean on young guys, I'm thinking Caggiula, Benning, Kara, and Slepyshev. They were supposed to take that next step, and you moved out a bunch of older guys that have been in the league for a while, were making a lot more money. They faltered. And we remember how bad 17-18 was. We remember how bad 18-19 was. And, Ken Holland isn't Peter Chiarelli, and I'm just trying to kind of point out a reason why Foegele's still around at 2.75. You need a lot of depth, and you need guys that play certain roles. And I will reiterate one more time that if Foegele was making 1.75, I don't think we're, creating any debate over it. And then Dave from Ottawa follows up with, will they move Foegele at the deadline to make cap space for an important piece? Maybe. I mean, his name was out there last trade deadline, but I think they wanted to get Puljujarvi out at what was it, $3 million last year first. And if Fogel's playing well and he has value, then I don't think they'd be inclined to do so. But if they find a way to move on from him, create cap space, and there's a team out there that wants him, and they're in a situation where they can add a similar player, brings the same amount of value to the team at a cheaper price point, or a couple of players, of course, you explore that. But Fogel's well-liked in the room, and, I think they're just going to grin and bear it for the rest of this year. But, yeah, the 2.75, I understand the price point. It's certainly no Darnell Nurse situation, but Fogel at 2.75 is an expensive bottom six guy. Okay, let's move on here. I will get into some texts and follow up on those, 780-218-9999, and I will get to the nasty chat, which looks like it's humming along nicely. Keep those coming in and flag me to make sure I read them. Say, Tommy, start the text with Tommy, and I will get to it because I see there is conversations amongst yourselves. I like it. Nasty chat. I like it a lot. Let's go to the question of the night as well. This is something we're going to also incorporate and carry over from our pre- and post-game show that we had at 1260. Which players have impressed you most so far through 4 preseason games? And are there any players that have disappointed you? So let us know, and we will get to those as we move on throughout the show. For the Oilers, like I mentioned, starting lineups, we will get to those when they hit the ice, so TBD there. As for the Canucks, we do expect to see this from Vancouver tonight. Elias Pettersson between Anthony Beauvillier and Andrei Kuzmenko. JT Miller centering Philip DiGiuseppe and Brock Besser. Pius Suter between Nils Höglander and Connor Garland. And then Teddy Bluger with Aman and Studnicka. On defense for the Canucks tonight, Quinn Hughes with Cole McWard. Ian Cole with Philip Hronik, and Carson Soucy, recently acquired by the Canucks, with Tyler Myers. Starting goalies, we'll get to those right now. We do fully anticipate the one and only Stuart Skinner getting to start, the 24-year-old 1-0 this preseason, .99 GAA, .955 save percentage in his lone appearance. That was the game on Wednesday night against the Canucks. He allowed 1 goal on 22 shots. As for Vancouver, expect to see 27-year-old Thatcher Demko, 1-0 record so far in the preseason for Demko, .317 GAA, .893 save percentage in that lone appearance where he allowed 3 goals on 28 shots against Seattle on Thursday. Matty Cassian will be joining us in a few minutes. I see he's just about ready to go. And again, 780-218-9999 if you want to send us a text and you're listening to our audio stream. And you can reach out to us via the nasty chat as well. Let's go to this one from Megabird. Says, did Fogel get signed before the COVID year? I honestly don't remember. No, he came in after, I believe. After. There was the trade with Carolina for Ethan Bear. Or it was, I think, the shortened season, or just after. Just after, because Bear played in the shortened season, the 56-gamer, and then he signed an extension shortly after. Zedmo says, Holloway is looking to impress and nailing it. He had a very strong game last night. I want to say this, give a shout-out to Brad Malone, by the way. He's going to be the captain of the Bakersfield Condors. He's getting some extra preseason games. He knows his role. He did make the Oilers out of training camp last year, played 10 games. Just a great character guy. He understands where he fits in the organization. And the fact that he scored that game winner yesterday, I thought was fantastic. Again, not a sexy Oilers lineup last night, but they got the job done. Holloway definitely leading the way offensively, continues to impress, like people are pointing out in the nasty chat. And that's a great sign, too. Finally rewarded with that goal to tie things up. And we also watched Jack Campbell have a really solid start. I think that is noteworthy. The goal he allowed, the one that counted, there was 3 bodies in front of him. I believe it was Marcus Niemelainen and Cody Ceci and a Canucks forward creating chaos on that point shot, and he just didn't see it. So he made some great saves. The goal that didn't count, that Backlund scored, that was waved off due to interference. That was interference. I did tweet out I thought he was lucky in response to someone because he made the initial save on the Walker Dewar shot, which was a good save, but he kicked the rebound out to a juicy spot in the slot and, of course, was impeded with to try to make the save, and that goal was disallowed. And then got lucky, of course, on the late goal that crossed the line after time had expired. And that was off a tip. And I can't remember which. Was it Sharon Govich? I believe it was Sharon Govich who got his stick on it. It squeaked through Campbell, and I don't remember which Oilers defender wasn't able to tie Sharon Govich up in the dying seconds, but he got lucky there. Outside of that, he made some great saves. He really did. He was their best player until, I would just say he was their best player all game long. And then Holloway was the best skater. And then, in overtime, anything can happen. The Flames' struggles continue in OT. I suppose a carryover, if you will, from last year. But the fact that group that the Oilers iced yesterday was able to get a win against a really solid Flames lineup, I think is a boost of confidence to those guys who did it, as it should be, and a credit to the systems that the coaching staff is incorporating and the buy-in that they're getting from anyone top down on the roster still with the Oil at training camp. Speaking of that, the Oilers did make some moves today. I will read them out. They announced it earlier in the day, I believe late in the morning, early in the afternoon, released from PTO and will report to Bakersfield. You've got defenseman Alex Peters, and loaned to Bakersfield is Olivier Rodrigue, Carter Savoy, and Noel Hoffenmeyer, placed on waivers for the purpose of assignment, Drake Gazzola and Greg McKegg. So they're not really being too ambiguous with where guys sit when it comes to their standing in the organization. I do think we will see Gazzola at some point this season if injuries become an issue, and I know Original Puzar wanted to debate me on that. We're not getting into it today, Original Puzar. It was part of the rankings of importance. Totally subjective. All right, time to step out for a short break. When we return, it will be Game Changers with Matty Cassian. If you do have a question for myself or a comment, you can hit us up at the text line 780-218-9999 or via the nasty chat if you're watching and following along on YouTube. If you do have something for Cass as well, let us know. It is the Oil Stream pregame show for the very first time right here on Edmonton Sports Talk.
The Lock Shop.
We've been doing this for a long time. We spend all this time salivating over the season. Sometimes, if you haven't learned your lesson, you go hard betting on week one, and then we get ready to get into week 3 of the season going, what the hell were we talking about for a month leading into the season? Because everything we thought was the case was wrong. So I always tread a little lightly, and I try not to make these so definitive takes. Things can change very, very quickly, or maybe they have, and we just haven't seen it yet.
The Lock Shop with Nielsen and Hustler. Weekday mornings at 11, only on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Catch up with friends of EST, Andrew, Mike, and Kayla as they get you in the huddle with the Edmonton Elks on the Turf District. Thursday nights at 8, EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Friend of EST, Eric Thomas, takes you around the track all the way to the checkered flag on Raceline Radio. Tuesday nights at 8 and Saturday morning at 9. Only on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Join friend of EST, Guy Flaming, for the Pipeline Show, Monday nights at 8 and Saturday at noon, as he has you covered with CHL, CJHL, USHL, NAHL, NCAA, and U Sports, plus the World Juniors, Frozen Four, and NHL Draft on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Wake up with the Nielsen Show with Dustin Nielsen and Lieutenant Eric. Weekday mornings 6 to 9 on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Get to know the winners, props, plays, parlays, and more with Nielsen and Hustler. Weekday mornings at 11 on The Lock Shop. Only on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Tom Gazzola and Sean Bell take you on a hot lap around the NHL with Hello Hockey, Saturday mornings at 10, only on Edmonton Sports Talk. Join Murray McCourt and Curtis Stock for tips and tales from courses around Edmonton and area with the VIP Golf Show, presented by the Tailor Made Performance Center at the Ranch, Sundays at 8:30, only on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. The Elks Call is the newest Edmonton Elks podcast located in Edmonton, discussing everything Elks. Join friends of EST, Scout and Catherine, Friday nights at 8 on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Don't feel like working? Join the Hangout. You never know what you might hear. Weekday mornings 9 to 11 on EdmontonSportsTalk.com.
It's time for
All right, welcome back to the Oil Stream pregame show right here on Edmonton Sports Talk. Tom Gazzola with you, Matty Cassian about to join us shortly for Game Changers. If you're watching, thank you. If you're listening, thank you. Text us 780-218-9999 or hit us up via the YouTube Nasty Chat as we welcome in Matt Cassian, our game analyst, for Damon Bunting Remax Elite. Game Changers brought to you by this season Damon Bunting Remax Elite. Damon Bunting is a consistent top-producing realtor in Greater Edmonton, and among Remax realtors, he and his team would love to help you find that right home or make the move from your current home. Community-driven, he understands what it takes to make a difference in our city. Check him out at DamonBunting.com or visit his Instagram at Damon Bunting Real Estate. Cass, welcome to the program. You and I know Damon Bunting well. He's a good dude. I talked to him earlier today.
Yeah, you know what? I was gonna say, he kind of challenges you for best hair.
He's got great hair.
Yeah. He's got great hair. Great hair.
Yeah.
Great hair, nice smile, good looking dude, and pretty nice to talk to on occasion.
You know what?
I think.
Are you describing yourself right now?
Oh, I mean, it's just all of us, Tommy. It's just all of us, and we're here. We're back. The first pre and post game show on the Oil Stream.
Yes.
Pretty awesome. And there's video.
Right?
There's video. I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing, Tom, but
I think it's good overall.
I think it's good.
Yeah.
You know what? Actually, it's great. I'm excited for it. I'm excited to be back into it. Excited to start breaking stuff down here again, digging in a little bit, getting into the meat of it. We're finally now at the point in preseason where you're seeing more and more of what the lineup's going to look like. More and more veterans are going to be in. You want to see things start to clean up a little bit, and it's just it's an exciting time, Tommy. It's an exciting time.
Cass, I'm super excited that you're back as well, and it's always great to dip into your knowledge and your experiences anytime we get a chance to do this. So let's do it, buddy. Game Changers brought to you by Damon Bunting Remax Elite. Number one, Cass, first show on EST for Game Changers execution.
Yeah, now we don't know the lineup yet. We're gonna find out right away.
We will.
We're mostly what it's gonna look like.
Yes.
So I had to stay away from when I was thinking about the game, knowing exactly what we're gonna see because we don't. But from a general thought on the team, the first thing that I want to see is we're getting closer and closer to the actual season starting, to the games actually starting to count. Is that execution?
Mm-hmm.
And where I'm going to really be looking for that, depending on the units that are out there, is that power play execution. So how are they starting to snap that puck around on the power play? I'm not worried about it as far as their power play having success in the season. It's going to be amazing. Again, most likely will be the top power play in the league again. But it would be nice to see some execution, to see the movement, to see the zone entries, to see them start to just clean it up a little bit more than we've seen already in the preseason. So again, part of that depends a little bit on who we see from a lineup standpoint, but
right.
I would think, Tommy, we're going to be pretty close to seeing the full actual squad out there to really get some game situation working.
Really quickly on that note, Jay Woodcroft pointed out that this is it's a mini road trip. It's a 2-gamer. You go Vancouver, Seattle, and he's got the majority of the roster. Obviously, the Oilers roster is in tow, but then there's also the guys that might be called up at certain points or the guys that eventually will become Oilers. And they do have team activities planned for this thing, Cass. How much of an advantage is it to get a quick trip like this with team activities in with a larger group? Were you ever able to have something like that? Because we don't really see road trips with time between games in the preseason like this.
Yeah, it's a little bit more rare in the preseason, but generally what happens, Tommy, is even if you don't have that time in between games, usually either right at the end of preseason or if there's like a 2-day gap, even if it's at home in between games, usually you're doing something as a team, even with those guys that are potentially going to be a part of it or guys that will be called up, sent down. I mean, I think back. And I don't know if I've told that on the pre and post game show, but I tell a story about Mikko Koivu almost crushing himself with a golf cart.
No, I've never heard this one.
That was on one of those trips. It was me, Pierre-Marc Bouchard, Mikko, and I think it was Marco Scandella. We're our foursome. Like they would have a couple of the young guys golfing with a couple of the older guys. We're up in the Duluth area as a team, so everybody went up to the Duluth area in northern Minnesota, and we went golfing. Beautiful course. And Mikko's golf cart tipped. He was inside. He was the only one inside the cart at that point. And somehow he ended up with the cart on its side and he was standing up, like straight up with the cart. So it's like the cart basically went over and he kind of stood up through the cart. So it was like on its side and he was standing straight up and he just stared at us. He just looked at me and he's like, "We don't tell anybody." I was like,
nobody finds out about that.
No one finds out about this.
Yeah.
Oh man. But teams typically do that. We actually on that trip too. They did a big roasted a whole pig in the sand, like they did sand,
those
like
are so good.
cook them in the sand.
Yeah.
They did that. Rick Bronwell, Tricky Ricky, who's the equipment guy now in Philly and has been for the last while. He was the assistant equipment guy. He had the guitar, so he had the big campfire with kind of everyone that knew how to play guitar was taking turns around the fires, playing some old songs. A little Wonderwall here, a little Bon Jovi there. Like it was a lot of fun, and I think those type of events are important. They're important for a team. And part of what I think is not just for the players that know they're going to be there, not just for the veteran guys, but for those bubble players, it makes you feel like you're a little bit more part of it.
Yeah.
And even if you are a guy that does end up getting sent down, that isn't on the roster to start the season, you start to feel a little bit more like you belong. And to me, that is incredibly important because you want guys when they get called up or when they get an opportunity to feel like they belong. It's an important part of a team. And, I think that the organization here is taking advantage of that and will do some team things. And to me, I'm like, yeah, you should.
Yeah,
you should go do something like this. This is awesome.
We did hear Ken Holland say it'll probably be 15 or 16 forwards that they use this year and 9 to 10 defensemen. Who knows, maybe 3 goalies. But like you said, that extended roster cast is important. Like they buy in and they feel a part of it. So a neat touch to this preseason for the Oilers, turning it into a little team bonding experience between games tonight and I believe Monday against Seattle. So number 1 was execution on game changers. Number 2, Matt Cassian, aggression.
This is something I think it took a little bit of time to develop last year. And so I want to see them start to develop sooner is a little bit of that offensive aggression, 5-on-5, a little bit of the making sure pucks are going to the net. Now we've seen them start to do it a little bit, even shot volume where they're throwing pucks at the net, and that's a good thing. But I just want to see that intensity and intentionality, and that's a word we use all the time.
Yes.
Last year, Tom, that intentionality, and it's one that's just going to continue this year. Is I want to see that aggressiveness in trying to create offense towards the net. Now that's not throwing hope plays. That's not just hoping and dreaming and wishing something works. What I want to see, Tom, is I want to see them take the puck to the net aggressively. You have a team like Vancouver. There's some questions on their back end. They're going to go with a pretty good lineup here.
Yep.
On their defensive side, they have most of their guys in. But I still think when we look at it, and outside of Quinn Hughes, it's not a group that necessarily moves that well. They're not a super mobile group. You have some size, you have some okay players, but you look at that third pairing in Carson Sosi
and Myers,
and Myers, and huge. They cover a lot of distance, but they're not guys that are overly mobile.
Right.
Now Myers, I think, uses that a little bit better on his side, but someone in Vancouver might disagree with me. I actually still think he's pretty serviceable in that third pair. But when I look at their defense and who they're going to be playing against today, I see guys that you can attack, and you can attack them with speed. And I think if you're forcing them to play that extra step back towards the net because you're always taking pucks there, it's just going to bode well for you. And again, heading into the season, to me, that's a mentality that I want to see this group establish early.
Number 1 was execution. We just heard Maddie talk about aggression, which was number 2. And number 3 on Game Changers tonight, Cass, will to win.
This is part and parcel to that aggression.
Mm-hmm.
We want to see them stomp on teams, right? We want to see you get that lead. There's no chance of coming back. Where I think at times last year, and maybe a little characteristic of this group, is they would take their foot off the gas. You'd be up a goal, you'd be up 2 goals, and you just kind of let other teams slink back into it a little bit. Now part of that is just stylistically, you're more of an offensive team. You're willing to trade chances because you think if you both teams are trading chances, you have the better offense and you're going to win. And I understand that, and I get that. But that will to win and the ability to start to lock down leads and lock down games and know when to just dial it into a point that you don't let teams claw back into it. Again, we still have some time left in preseason, but I just want to see those habits develop, Tom. And if they get a lead in this game, I want to see, okay, how are they playing defensively now?
Mm-hmm.
What are they doing in their own zone? What type of positioning are we seeing from the players when Vancouver starts to push if you have a lead? And just those little habits, Tom, I think it's so important as you get down to your actual group here, playing against mostly an NHL lineup. Really, really important to start to build those habits and just that will to win in games when you have the lead, when you're in control of just not giving that up, I think is just so important for the Oilers to have success this season, and something that I'm looking for right away here.
Cass, Edmonton's 2-1-1 in this preseason. They have 8 preseason games total. The Canucks, I think, are doing it right with just 6. 0-2-1 thus far. They are going to roll out a pretty darn good roster like we outlined. We can go through the roster again. When we get the Oilers roster, we'll do the same. It will be Skinner versus Demko, so we anticipate this is close to NHL opening night rosters for these two clubs who will go home and home to start the regular season. But in terms of just like little wrinkles that you've seen, or maybe some tendencies that you've seen from the main players, I'll use that term. If I were to suggest that in the offensive zone, they've been a little bit too cute and making that extra pass when they could shoot and bury. I think Nugent Hopkins could have fired one into the empty net the other night and tried to pass it cross ice to, I think, Evander Kane. Is that worrisome, or is it too early to say, I don't like this tendency or what they're trying to do?
Yeah. Tommy, it's not worrisome yet.
Okay.
It's not worrisome yet. But ergo point 2 being aggressiveness, aggression and aggressiveness with the puck towards the net. I mean, we have to start to see that. And maybe we can write part of it off to say, they're not playing against full NHL teams, or they're just trying to feel it a little bit, trying to feel the offense, trying to feel that creative, get the hands going, get the mind going a little bit. Maybe they're going with that. If it continues, I would say, I mean, we're 4 games here left.
Yep.
And now is the time you need to start locking it down. So if that continues tonight, if it continues the other 3 games, then yeah, we probably got an issue of being too cute, because we have seen that happen to this team in the past where they are trying to dipsy a little bit too much in the offensive zone. So I do want to see them just take it to the net. I do want to see them, when there's an opportunity that's a grade A chance to shoot the puck. Want to see that. Not worried about it yet.
Hit us up via the inbox, 780-218-9999, or the YouTube nasty chat. I see Joaquin Gage has chimed in. You'll see Gager filling in for you, Cass, when you can't make it for a show this season. Gager says, look at you guys with Saturday night hair. So jealous. Thank you, Gager. We appreciate that very, very much. Any comment there, Cass?
Well, you know what, Gager? You're incredibly handsome too. So,
you are.
I appreciate it. You just you warm my heart, and you are a true friend.
Yes, a big, warm personality is Joaquin Gage, and great to work with as well. All right, Cass, I wanted to throw one other thing your way tonight. It is the question of the night. And listen, we're not going hard on the question of the night in this first show, but I just threw it out there earlier in the first segment, is which players have impressed you most so far through the first 4 preseason games? And are there any players that have disappointed you? And I know we've, been keeping an eye on Raphael Lavoie, who I thought was okay again last night, but I'd like to see him bury one or start creating some plays. I know he's gotten some chances and some shots, and he hasn't been able to play with like a McDavid or a Draisaitl. He was out there with Holloway and Malone yesterday, and that line did have some success. But are there guys that are impressing you so far, and has there really been a disappointment even?
I don't think there's been a real disappointment where I've been like, oh, he's really, really not looking good. I don't think anyone's truly disappointed me. Holloway impressed me last game. Now, he impressed a lot last preseason. The thing that I liked about him last game in particular was it was in that third, fourth line role, right? Like where it wasn't like he was just putting up points, because last season, preseason, he put up a ton of points. He was playing with the top guys. He was in the top 6, and we were kind of like, oh my goodness, like he's going to step into the top 6 and be amazing. And to me, it's like, okay, no, here he is playing with players that are going to be more kind of what he would start the year with if he's playing in like a third line role or a fourth line role at the start of the season. And he had some success. He's been physical at times. We've seen him throw some big hits in the preseason. We've seen him have some chances offensively, and I've generally really liked his game. So he's impressed me, I think, more out of or the most. Lavoie, I've really liked his game, and in similar like where it's like I've liked how he's used his size. I wouldn't expect him to step in and play in the top 2 lines right away. Like he's a guy that when he's younger might have to find that third or fourth line role a little bit. Now he's got the size and the ability to do it, and long term, I mean, you look at him and you go, okay, like, if he can be a guy that can develop into someone that can play center in your top 6, I mean, wow. Your top 6, if you have McDavid and Draisaitl, and then you have another guy that's like 6'4", that's a center that can step in, it's like that could be absolutely, I mean, they already have a game-changing top 6, but it could be absolutely fantastic. But he's not there yet. He's not there yet. But I've been impressed with him thus far. The steps forward that he has taken, he's certainly a guy that at some point we will see play in the regular season for the Oilers this year, and I've been impressed with him so far.
Is he making the team out of camp, or does he need to do quite a bit more?
I would say he may have, if they weren't up against the cap.
Right.
Where you're not going to have a lot of extra bodies around, and that probably goes against him.
That was a conversation I had in the press box with someone in Hockey Ops. Is this 21-man roster thing is just killing a guy's chance like Lavoie's?
Yep.
So that's the detriment of doing this 21-man roster and backing yourself into the corner that you did with the cap situation that you are in. People are asking about the lineup. We will get that to you as soon as we see it. Teams are on the ice for warm-up, but kicking the ball around. Pre-game cast, Stuart Skinner's in there. I see Hamblin. I see Bourgault. I see Lavoie. I believe that is Niemelainen. And
Skinner starts tonight.
Yeah, then we had Skinner starting against Demko. Maddie, have you seen Maddie?
Bob has just put out the lines.
Okay, here we go.
So R&H in between Kane and Brown, Sutter in between Ernie and Janmark, Malone in between Lavoie and Griffith, Peterson in between Hamblin and Bourgault. Defensively, Nurse, CC, Broberg, Desharnais, Niemelainen, Gleason, and then, like I said, Skinner.
What do you think of that, Cass?
Well, a couple points of note. I would say defensive pairings. I mean, we want to see Nurse and Cece here again. We've seen Nurse Bouchard. You're going to get a little bit of a look at what we saw last year here with Nurse and Cece. But then that Darnay Broberg pairing. I mean, that's going to be one to watch tonight. They're going to probably play quite a few minutes. They're probably not going to get easy minutes here. So I'm interested to see how they do. That would be a pairing to watch for me tonight.
All right, so Tay chimed in, said, guys, any idea what the lineup looks like? Tay, we will read it out one more time. Nugent-Hopkins between Kamen and Brown. Sutter between Ernie and Janmark. Malone with Lavoie and Griffith. Peterson between Hamblin and Bourgault. On defense, like Cass was talking about, Nurse, Cece, Broberg, Desharnais, Niemelainen, and Gleason. Skinner between the pipes. Demko at the other end of the rink. And as for the Canucks, here is what they are rolling out with Elias Pettersson, Anthony Beauvillier, and Andrei Kuzmenko. Top line, JT Miller centering Philip Di Giuseppe and Brock Besser. Pius Suter between Nils Höglander and Connor Garland. And then Teddy Bluger with Aman and Studnicka. On defense for the Canucks, Hughes with Mick Ward. Ian Cole with Philip Hronik. Carson Soucy with Tyler Myers. And then one final note, Cass. What are you looking for from Brandon Sutter, and what have you seen? I know, listen, the games have been on Oilers Plus. You could watch the game, yesterday, but Brandon Sutter wasn't playing. But from what you gather about Brandon Sutter, what are you looking for from him? His puck touches haven't been great. I know face-offs and his checking ability are going to be top of mind, but what gets him over the top and helps him get a contract with this team?
Yeah, he's got to clean up his touches. As you said, I think the execution for him hasn't quite been there to move the puck when he's had the puck on his stick. And that could take some time, Tommy. I mean, it's really, really tough not playing for a long time to all of a sudden jump into games and to have that feel. So he needs to find it. I still think, regardless of how the rest of preseason goes, he probably earns himself a two-way deal and probably gets put on waivers. They try to send him down to be a guy that you could call up. And he kind of falls into that same, how much space do you have on the roster is like a Lavoie, where there's not a lot of cap room and you can't carry a lot of extra guys. If you could, well, maybe you look at something. But he to me, if he cleans up his execution a little bit, then you look to maybe offer him a two-way and you go from there. Let him play a little bit in the minors. Let him work out that kink or the kinks and try to get him back to full NHL game speed.
Original Puzar with a two-parter via the Nasty Chat says management and coaches trying to will a true center. Sutter with 2 games with real NHL players. Peterson with 2 real NHL players. PP1 all night. And then Original Puzar says Peterson has proved that he is an offensive player that can't produce offense at the NHL level. Lane Peterson was kind of an unknown going into this. What do you make of what they've gotten him? He is a guy that's under contract. I'm assuming he ends up in Bakersfield, and that's okay.
That's okay. NHL quality player. If he was playing for Arizona, he probably plays in the NHL the whole year. Don't know, again, at the start of this year, same thing with you're tied up against the cap. He's a guy that you kind of go, okay, you can have some money down there. If you can get it down and he clears, which he most likely would, a serviceable NHL player. Don't know if he'll start the season here.
Right. Cass, fantastic stuff as always. We will catch up with you early on the post-game show. Boy, it feels good to say that again, doesn't it?
Oh, just happy to be back, Tommy. Happy to be back. Let's go. Thank you, Damon Bunting, for all your real estate assistance. We analyze the game. You analyze the real estate market. That's how it works.
Oh, he's a busy man. Cass, we'll catch up with you later on, buddy.
Sounds good.
There you go. That's our game analyst, Matt Cassian, with Game Changers, brought to you by Damon Bunting, Remax Elite. Go check him out. You can see his Instagram at Damon Bunting Real Estate via Insta or his website, damonbunting.com. Great guy and certainly dialed in when it comes to the real estate market in and around Edmonton. I saw a couple of texts and posts that I want to get to. 780-218-9999 if you're listening. And if you're watching via the Nasty Chat, you can hit us up. Good conversation going on there, it looks like. So keep it going. Now, we do want to get to some audio and video. We're going to forego, Maddie. You think we can forego that last break? Yeah, you're giving the nod of approval. Okay, let's go into the coach's room. And today, Jay Woodcroft wasn't actually in the standard coach's room, which is the Oilers Hall of Fame room, because Iron Maiden's taken over Rogers Place. So he did speak outside the DCA. Let's go to Jay Woodcroft right now.
He had a good hockey game. He seems to be getting better and better as the camp's progressing here. Plays a speed game, a power game. I thought he was physical last night. Obviously played higher in the lineup and turned in a good game for us, which is what we expect.
What's his maturity level from one year to the next? Like, I know the young guys mature really quickly. Has you seen that as you kind of turn that corner in maturity?
You can talk about what it's like in the NHL, and you can talk about the plays that need to be made in order to continue to guarantee ice time and all that kind of stuff. But sometimes you have to experience it. You have to go through it. You have to work through some of the learning lessons. And for me, that was what his year was about last year. And it's okay that there's a little bit of struggle as well. I think there's value in things not being easy. And, you know, he's a great kid that's working hard and seems to be progressing. So we were happy with his game last night, but it's on him to make sure he gets the most out of his day today.
Just to follow up on Jack Campbell from last night, Jay, does he seem a little bit more loose around the rink?
I think he's known as a fairly loose guy, right? Like, so, I think last night was a good start for him. I said that he expected to start that way. We expected him to start that way. He turned in a real good performance. Now it's on him to recover and make sure he's ready to go when his name is called again.
As that kind of continues, can you take us through the decision-making process of maybe trimming down the roster, because we know that's kind of looming, and how good of a problem that is when it's a hard problem to have?
Yeah. Well, as camp progresses, you have dates in mind where you think you want to trim the roster a little bit. What we're doing now is we're going on the road to Vancouver, and then from Vancouver to Seattle. And we just wanted to get the group down to a manageable number. As you said, it's a coach's luxury when it's competitive for those final spots. And that's what we want to see. I think guys have had a hard camp here. It hasn't been easy. We've been working through lots of things. But again, we're running out of exhibition games. We're halfway through the exhibition schedule. There's 4 left. It's incumbent upon our players that are on the bubble to show what they have.
How many players do you want to be down to for your final 2 home games?
I don't have a hard and fast number, but you're probably looking at 24, 25 guys at that point. But, I think, I don't know if we're at 30 healthy bodies right now. We're going to have 3 extra. I think we're around that number. We'll see where we're at when we come back from this Vancouver-Seattle trip, but I would expect a little bit of a trim down after that as well.
It's been a busy camp, a lot of fly, play, come back the same night. What's the value of, and what do you hope to get out of staying on the West Coast for tomorrow and playing Monday?
Well, I think in preparing for training camp, one of the things that we wanted to do was to do something a little bit different, and we have. The way we shaped our groups this year was different. Some of the things that we did in practices have been different. Obviously, I think it's like 5 games in the first 7 days. It's a taxing first week of the preseason. I think we've spread the games out nicely, but I see value in bringing players on the road so that they can come together. This is going to be where we're going to have a little bit of a team builder, and I think it's important for a group that has been together for a short time to be together on the road so that you can continue to strengthen the bonds of comradeship.
Would you like to see Holloway, I know the lineup is always in flux to some bit, but has he earned a preseason game in a kind of a top 6 role with Leon O'Connor as a center after how he's played?
Well, now you're thinking like coaches again. Reed, you're going to get yourself in trouble doing that. No, you know what? I think we're taking things one day at a time. We'll see how the lineup shakes out here, but he had a good game last night. We expect him to have a good day today and continue to get better.
McLeod won't play until you come back here.
We'll see. We'll see. Yeah, he's going on the road. Yeah, we're bringing Ekholm, McLeod, and Gagne on the road with us.
In our conversations with both goaltenders, Stuart Skinner and Jack Campbell, they told us how much they love playing full 60 minutes. Was that a conversation they brought up to the coaching staff, or how did that kind of play out? Because I know splitting was in the past.
Yeah, I think that's been kind of the norm for a while, and just in sitting down with our goalie department, Dustin Schwartz, Sly Rodrigue, and myself, we just felt there was value in people seeing an entire game. I said this the other day, Stewart's game at home against Vancouver, I think he had 10 shots after 2 periods. They pushed in the 3rd period. If we would have removed him after 2, he saw 10 shots. So I think there's value in seeing a game through. Obviously, Rodrigue got the first one, Pickard got the next one, and now we're alternating between Jack and Stu.
Last year you did fishing as your bonding. How do you kind of decide on what to do and just kind of plan that out? Because it's an important day, as you said, for the organizing.
Well, I hand off that responsibility. I don't take on that responsibility. You know what? We have a manager of lots of things for our team. Her name is Kate Doyle. She does an unbelievable job handling those types of things. And so she meets with the leadership group. She knows the date in hand that we were thinking of, that we've scheduled for that time. And, the players, in conjunction with Kate, came up with planning our Sunday here, and everyone's excited about it. And, more than anything, regardless of the activity, it's about being together. And, I think we're set up for a good day, but that's tomorrow. It starts with a good game tonight, and that's where our focus is right now.
So you're taking 30 on the road?
Yeah.
The rationale for taking Sam, who can't play, he's not going to be able to play.
Well, he's in training camp, and we want him to be around our team. Yeah, I enjoy, him as a person. His teammates enjoy him as a person. He's trying to make the team. I think, for me, I think that's what the right thing to do is to bring everybody that's still in camp.
So the guys who aren't going, you're going to have some more decisions then?
There's some, there will be some things announced here today.
Ekholm, can he play a game before the season starts?
We'll see. His job is to put good days on top of good days. I would like him to, but perfect world's a perfect world. We don't always live in a perfect world. We'll see how he's coming. The good news is he's progressing.
He could play if it was just Game 5 of the Vegas series. He'd be playing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, we're just trying to be smart. It's the start of the year, and we're trying to be smart.
So in Goldberg's case, I think maybe you were thinking, okay, I'm playing with Ekholm, but now he's playing with different sort of guys. Mm-hmm. Does that kind of throw a monkey wrench into it, or is that
a little bit? Yeah. I mean, we had a plan. But the real world happens, right? And you got to react to it, and it is what it is. But for him, it's about, regardless of who he plays with, he's got to lay down another good game here tonight, and we'll see if he does.
And what do you like most about CC and Kulak?
Well, you and I talked about this the other day. I think that's a pairing if they're together. You feel comfortable if they're on the ice against anybody. In preseason here, they've predominantly drawn the toughest check while being on the road against strong lineups. I think that's good experience for them. But if you can roll 6 D-men that you're not sheltering minutes, you're not worried about O-zone or D-zone starts, all that type of stuff, I think that's a good thing. They're both experienced guys. They're both at the life stage in the career where they know who they are, they want to win, and we'll see it play out as it plays out.
As a coach, it makes more sense to have a balance where 2 defensemen aren't playing 25 or 26 minutes.
Well,
in a perfect world, let's say overtime. Right?
Yeah, in a perfect world, you have 6 D-men. They all play 20 minutes. They're all of equal ability, but those
I guess I use Vegas as an example. Other than Pietrangelo, who's on both penalty kills, their defensemen all play about the same amount of time.
Yeah.
And they don't get tired out, and I guess if injuries happen, so those guys can move
That
up. That's
now,
a good idea.
now
That's a good thing.
you say that about their team last year. The previous year, it didn't work out that way. Those are perfect world scenarios. We don't live in a perfect world. I think for me, ideally you want to spread the minutes out amongst the many. But different teams are built in different ways. We're built in a certain way, and we got to find our way, not just try and emulate somebody else.
All right, there was Jay Woodcroft getting set for tonight's action, actually talking about a lot of things. He did say there has been progress with Matthias Ekholm, Ryan McLeod. Sam Gagner has made the trip with the Oilers. He's a part of the group, so there was a bit of a roster cut down earlier today. If you didn't catch that, the Oilers did release from PTO Alex Peters, and then loaned to Bakersfield Olivier Rodrigue, Carter Savoy, and Noel Hoffenmeyer, and then placed on waivers for the purpose of assignment were Drake Gazzola and Greg McKegg. We'll go to lineups one last time for the Oilers. Nugent Hopkins between Kane and Brown. Brandon Sutter between Adam Ernie and Matthias Janmark. Brad Malone, the hero in OT last night with Raphael Lavoie and Seth Griffith. And then you got Lane Peterson with James Hamlin and Xavier Bourgault on defense. Nurse paired up with CC. Broberg with Desharnais. Nima Leinen gets a look with Gleason. Gleason was good in his last game. Stuart Skinner in goal for Edmonton. As for the Vancouver Canucks, we know it'll be Elias Pettersson with Anthony Beauvillier and Andre Kuzmenko flanking him. Then you've got JT Miller between Philip DiGiuseppe and Brock Besser. Pius Suter between Nils Hoglander and Connor Garland. And then Teddy Bluger with Amon and Studnicka. On defense for the Canucks, Quinn Hughes with Cole McWard. Ian Cole with Philip Hronik. And then Carson Soucy with Tyler Myers. Twin Towers on the back end there. Big boys. In goal will be Thatcher Demko for the Vancouver Canucks. Also, Kate Doyle is the Director of Hockey Operations and Team Services. She has a busy job, and you heard there she's planning out what the Oilers will do on their team bonding excursion tomorrow, as they have a day between games tonight in Vancouver and then Monday in Seattle. Kate Doyle, also champion of the 2023 Barry Cates Memorial Golf Tournament. That's for Oilers Media, and she was on a team with yours truly, Dustin Schwartz, and Kevin Rapinos, who's corporate communications.
Of course you brought that up.
Well,
of course you brought that up. There's no other reason to bring that up. If you weren't on that team, you wouldn't be bringing it up. So nice trying to do humble brag right there.
I also wanted to point out Kate Doyle's title because Kate is excellent at what she does. She's also hilarious, and she is my teammate and fellow champion at the Media Golf Tournament this year. So I just, Woodcroft was talking about Kate Doyle, so I just wanted to give Kate a little bit of love.
You saw the opportunity to brag, and you took the opportunity to brag. Let's be real here.
Yes, Matthew Iwanek. I also did that. I will fully admit to it. A couple of texts to get to as we get set to wrap. You can watch the game on Sportsnet, by the way. You don't have to worry about an Oilers Plus account tonight. And see a couple of texts coming in. This one says, Tommy, Green Day is performing at Grey Cup. Is that confirmed?
It was just announced while you were speaking, or while playing Jay, or when you were speaking to Cassie, one of the two. They've announced that. So actually, when you think about Grey Cup weekends, you got Carrie Underwood playing on the Friday, just a show, and then you got Green Day doing a halftime show. Do you remember when Green Day signed the deal with the NHL to do a bunch of singing, and then they did the one show and they swore, and we've never seen them again?
That's a good get for the CFL. The NHL and its decision-making when it comes to entertainment is just bizarre. Like, you hire Green Day as, what was it, the league's...
It was like league musicians or something, but it's like a 2-year deal. They were supposed to perform at everything, and they did one thing, swore, and we've never seen them again.
Oh, man. Yeah. Good one, NHL. Good on the CFL. And the Carrie Underwood thing, performing at Cops Coliseum or First Night, whatever it's called now. That's going to be an awesome weekend in Hamilton. So thanks, JL, for pointing that out on the Nasty Chat. Jenna says, is that the same Gleason who played Jeffrey Baratheon on Game of Thrones? No. That's a good one. Dwayne says, hi, Tommy G. Do you have a brother on the air in Vancouver? Yes. My brother Mike went from broadcasting to acting, back to broadcasting, and he is now in Calgary, Dwayne, at City News. So shout out to my brother Mike, and he is on the air kicking some butt. Nice to see. Brotherly love. Passing that along. And then I want to read this one. It says, evening, boys. Will you guys be using the same Hockey Night theme song as 1260 for the pre-post game show once the regular season starts? I know the answer. Maddie, do you want to just shut that down right away and explain why?
Bell Media owns that,
Yes.
not us.
Yeah.
So we had the ability to use it because the company we used to work for owned it.
Literally bought it for, what was it, like
CBC.
$1 million?
Yeah, and that's why it was on TSN and things
Yes.
like that.
Yes.
We now no longer work there. We don't have the rights to it anymore. No, we will not be using it.
And we don't want to get copyright infringement going either. I'm going to end the show with this one, the pregame show. It says, I have never listened to pre or post game before until now. Supporting you guys hard. Next time I see you at Costco, Tommy, I'm yelling. Haha. Yes, please do. And thanks for supporting us and tuning in. This new endeavor, Edmonton Sports Talk, has been, I think, pretty darn successful, and it wouldn't be successful without your support. So keep it coming. And yes, indeed, the pre and post game show rolls on. Very similar to what we had before at 1260 with some added wrinkles. Of course, you're watching us now, and that's a huge get for us, and we're going to continue to build and build and build. But we're off and running on the Oil Stream pre and post game show right here on Edmonton Sports Talk. To everyone who tuned in, texted in, we appreciate you. For Matty Cassian, Matthew Awanek, and YouTube Trev, I'm Tom Gazzola saying thank you. We will talk to you on the post game show. Enjoy the Oilers at Canucks.